Let's get into some shite. Hi, folks. Welcome to the Out of Tune Podcast. Thanks for joining me and hanging out with me. My name is Rick. What's your name? Oh, wait a minute. I don't know what your name is, but you can feel free to text it to me or send it to me through email. That's about all you can do, unless you want to send me something through social media, and then I'll know who you are, and that's important, don't you think? This is a regular little stop here. We do this once a week. Try to do it on Tuesday. Yesterday, I made several. And about 7 or 8, maybe close to 10 recordings of this show. And I kept failing because my voice was going out. I'm heavily affected by allergies this week. And I just ruined my voice yesterday. I couldn't speak at all. Hopefully we'll get through it. Together, we'll get through this today. You feeling good? This is a week before Thanksgiving, folks. Have you bought your Thanksgiving dinner? I have not yet. I'm still kind of debating on what I want to do, and I'm going to go out shopping and get something very, very soon. Probably this weekend. Don't you think? I'll do something this weekend. Maybe have some guests this year. I think last year was kind of a small, intimate, no guest over thing with my wife. We watched some movies and stuff. This year we might have some guests. So hopefully your Thanksgiving is going to be fun. Lots of food, lots of, I'm going to say lots of family, but anybody you want to come over, I hope it's enjoyable. This show, people, we're really trying to focus it onto something, and I feel like that the way to focus it, because I know a lot of people, I know a lot of you who listen out there. I do know your names, some of them, and this show is full of people who are kind of, let's just say sort of, I want to say creative outsiders, people who are a little bit quirky. And I don't mean, you may not be a professional artist. You may not even consider yourself an artist at all, but you are. You look at the world through kind of artistic, creative, outsider eyes, right? Am I right about this? I think I am. From the people who I know. And there's some people who probably have never even written to me, communicated with me. So I don't know about you, but I'm feeling if you're listening to this dumb show, you gotta have something wrong with you, right? All right. So what I want to talk about today is I feel like this is like a little portal into creativity. You can use whichever word you want. And it's easy. It's a simple thing. It's something we used to do naturally as kids. And as we get older, I feel like sometimes we forget about it, but it's something I've used a lot in my business, in my creative endeavors. 2 words, just 2 little words that kind of open up the flow of creativity. And those 2 words I'm going to share with you are called, the words aren't called, the words are, what if? So this is something I encourage you to do anytime that you're in a project, especially if you keep running up against a wall and you can't figure out a solution. Just using the words, what if, I have found in my own creativity sort of just unleashes a lot of stuff, a lot of ideas, a lot of potential, a lot of direction. And the way it works for me is, and you can do this any way that you want. You don't even have to have a problem. It works well with a problem because you've got a problem and you can't figure out. Then you could just sit there and start making what if statements like, well, what if we did this? What if this happened? What if we took that and made this be a part of it? You know, just sit there and kind of like, what if it? Because it's like window shopping. You don't have to pay for anything to window shop. You can sit there and look and just, I had to get those pants. I like that shirt. I want to get that jacket. It doesn't cost anything to sit and window shop. And it doesn't cost anything to use what if. And there's no risk. So you can sit there and talk about it, debate it. It's always fun to do it with someone else, I think. And it helps you to kind of come to possibilities. So in your life, in your job, in whatever relationships, even I think it works with marriages too. If you just say, what if we did this? What if this? And I don't mean just like, well, what if we had Chinese tonight? But you can use it for that too if you want. But just solutions for, if you're having an argument, having a disagreement, you can always sit there and just kind of analyze, what if we did this? What if we agreed to do this? What if we looked at it this way? And I feel like that opens up, you're not making any kind of commitment. That's what's fun about it. You're committing to nothing. You're just looking at possibilities. And then eventually one of them starts making sense. And it's all because of those two little words, what if? It actually is. It's kind of like the foundation to creative thinking. It's the beginning. It's why kids do it. I think that I was reading where Disney creative people use it when they're building when they're building Disney parks, not just in animation or TV shows, but they use it for that as well. Okay. Psychology Today notes that creativity often comes from combining unrelated ideas and applying what if question to explore new possibilities. So what you can do is, that's what's great about it, is you could take two seemingly unrelated ideas and put a what if between them. What if we did that and that, or we take this and we take that, and what if we did this? And it lets that possibility start coming out, flowing, and you see things that you never saw before. Stephen King says that he does that. That's how he writes a lot of his books. He just comes up with scenarios, some ideas. Let's say I have a baker, and let's say there's a crazy guy with a bomb. What if I have the crazy guy ordering a donut? So I just wrote a book. I just wrote a Stephen King book on the show, people. But that's literally the way you do it, is just take you can make an exercise. Just take random thoughts, random ideas, and what if them together. If you are a creative person and you work creatively every day, which I do, sometimes you could use it just to actually do your job. It doesn't even have to be something that you're brainstorming. You're just doing something specific, and you can what if yourself to come with solutions to make what you are doing better, easier, more creative. So to me, it's just like that should be like your number one foundation words, foundation questions of everything that you do to make things more creative. Just ask, what if? So what I have here is some prompts. These are some prompts that you can use. You can have fun with these. Listen, you could say, what if I tried the opposite to my usual approach? You could George Costanza it. Be the opposite, do the opposite. Look at what you're doing, especially if you're running up against a wall. And it's like, because I do this a lot. I'll be honest with you. I after yesterday's experience with the podcast, and I started working with the podcast again today, I came really, really close just to throwing the whole thing in the trash and going, you know what? Podcast is done. I'm not doing any more of the podcast. But because of the content today, it kind of encourages, I know for a little while it's going to be rusty. After I haven't done the podcast in a while, getting back into the swing, it always happens. If you're an athlete and you you've been in bed with an illness or a disorder or something, and then you come back, you cannot operate at the same level that you left. It's just impossible. And so for me, there's just a lot of the things that aren't working smoothly, and it gets worse as you get older. So there has to come a time where I just have to, what if? So I was just really having some problems actually developing a show, and I had to stop and just go, okay, what if I do this? What if this happens? What if I make the show only 2 minutes long? What if? I'm not committing to anything, right? I'm dreaming, and that's the secret. What if is basically the entrance to a dream. You're going into daydream mode. You're allowing yourself to speculate, to dream, to wonder. And that's free. It don't cost nothing. Just run crazy with your imagination. What if I removed one major element from this project? how many of us have had a project that seems like it's getting out of control? Just take one thing out and see what happens. You might change the whole course. What would you do? What if we took one out? What would it be? It starts a whole new direction of a project. What if I had to finish this idea in 1 hour? Most of my ideas are that. What if I had to do that? What would happen? What if the story or the song began after the ending? What? I mean, dream it. Think about it. Ask yourself that. Shoot for it. See what happens. What if I exaggerated one detail to an extreme? You might come up with a much better story. I might have a better podcast. What if nothing was off limits in the first draft? And you know what? It really isn't. First draft, you can do what you want to. Just make it happen. So I'm challenging. That's my my kind of pep rally for today is ask yourself, what if? And really don't stop asking yourself, what if? All right, I want to do something that I started doing on the podcast before, and I want to keep it going, which are the 4 things in my life, 4 things this week that, I don't know, impacted me. All right. So first of all, the thing that inspired me the most this week, and that would be last, I guess, weekend. We have a arts district in Atlanta. It's people just refer to it as Miami Circle because the street that it's on is just Miami Circle. But there are several art galleries there. I don't know the number, but a lot of them. And they have an art stroll. I don't know if it's once a month, once a quarter. But the art stroll was happening this weekend. I told my wife, I said, we're going to go. We keep talking about it. Let's do it. So let's get out there and go. We could go see several galleries and just have an art night. Let's just go stroll. So I knew it was going to be fun. I knew it was going to be good. These are some of the best, let's just say the better galleries in Atlanta. And we'll say they're upscale. They are. They're pretty upscale. But it's free to go in. They're all just commercial galleries. And so we visited, I believe altogether, maybe 5 galleries. And I knew when we went, it was going to be good. But it was better than I thought. And just walking through and seeing incredible art, inspired different types of art, modern art, contemporary art, but just very, very professional, high level art. It's inspiring. And I always have a kind of a little, I don't know, it's a challenge to myself. If I ever leave a gallery and I don't feel like painting, then I don't want to come back to that gallery. It just means I didn't get inspired. So I just, when I left, all I wanted to do was go home and paint. And I wanted to paint like several paintings all at once. It was that inspiring. It's kind of like when you go to a concert. I guess if you're a musician, you go to a concert with an artist you really like, and you go home, you're like, I want to play music now. That kind of same situation for me. It always inspires me. So that was, for me anyway, this week, the way that I was inspired the most. The thing that made me laugh this week, that would be, have you seen the documentary Being Eddie on Netflix? It is a documentary about Eddie Murphy. Kind of goes through his whole career. He hosts it. He talks about it. It's a great documentary. My age, I'm kind of tail end of the boomer and the beginning of Gen X. I'm sort of in between both of those. We do have a word for that, but ultimately it's just kind of wandering around aimlessly. We don't have anything we can grasp onto. That's my generation. We're losers. We're people we don't have a way. We can't find our way. That's a great identity for us. That's me. I don't have any kind of identity at all. So I call myself a Zoomer because like Gen X, the Z, and the Oomer from the Boomers, we're right in the middle. So I'm a Zoomer, and there's another generation that kind of stole it with the Z, but I use it X. So that's what I call myself. Anyway, what I'm getting at is Eddie Murphy for my generation was like one of the artists that was like way up there. One of the, I would say like in the top 5 of the most impactful artists of our generation. He did everything. He changed the state of comedy. I think even in movies, a lot of movies he did. At the time, he was one of the top draws, and he changed a lot of the ways movies are made. And just as a performer on Saturday Night Live, I think he changed the way Saturday Night Live was. Saturday Night Live used to be pretty political, and then with Eddie, I think it came to more. I think they just started doing a lot more impressions, a lot more just goofy, funny humor. But altogether, I think Eddie changed the face of a lot of genres of entertainment, and it's fun just to kind of watch him go back and sort of re-examine his career. The man has a pretty big ego, and he'll say it too. It's not a surprise. But, you kind of think maybe he deserves it from everything that he's done. It's understandable. But he also just seems like one of those guys you'd like to hang out with. I don't know. I do. I feel that way. But it's also very, very funny. There's a lot of stuff in it that just really cracked me up. So Being Eddie, it's on Netflix. If you haven't seen it yet, please do, especially if you're an Eddie Murphy fan. What are you waiting on? You got to watch it. It's great. Thing that made me sad this week, I'm not going to talk about this that much because it's not that big of a deal, but I was thinking about how this year with holidays, they seem to go so fast. And I think that happens more as you get older. And I don't know, as you get older, do you get to enjoy holidays like you used to? I just feel like you blink and they're over. When you're a kid, you anticipate for so long. I feel like Christmas takes forever to get here. And then you start getting older and older. And did I say older? You get older and then, you get older and then it just, I don't know. It just seems like it goes so quick. You can't even get settled into it. And that's sort of sad to me because not just for missing the holidays, but just spending time with people you like spending time with at the holidays. It feels like you don't get enough chance to do that. So I don't know. I'm not going to make too much about it, but that's kind of the thing that made me sad. And then the thing that challenged me, which is also kind of a thing I don't want to spend too much time on because it points at myself a little too much. Back in August, I didn't share this too much. I haven't shared this on the podcast, but back in August, I've been pretty healthy most of my life. I don't have any problems. And all of a sudden in August, for some bizarre reason, just out of the blue, I started getting heart issues. And my blood pressure went sky high, and my heart just started going crazy. So I had to go to cardiologists and doctors and all that. And it was just insane for like 3 months, and it's still going on. But for 3 months, my heart just became like somebody else's heart. And I went to cardiologist. Cardiologist said, you're not in heart failure. You don't have heart disease. They kind of found out for a while that it was a certain medication I was taking. They changed it, but it hasn't completely changed my issues. So I don't think I've ever felt as old in my entire life as I feel right now, which is great because I've never been as old my whole life as I am right now. So the feeling is finally caught up to it. But I don't know. I just feel like I'm in my 80s now, which is not cool. I've never felt like that before. If you've struggled with that kind of thing, BP, heart stuff, you know what I'm talking about. It can slow you down. The BP medication, I think, that I'm taking is what do they call it? A beta blocker, which I don't like at all. And it affects me in ways I don't like. But one of the things I definitely don't like is it takes away my power to think deeply. I'm going to blame that. Seriously, like when I'm doing creative endeavors, there's always this kind of like deep, I always call it the well that you can go to way back in the back of your mind. Is just like when you're trying to come up with an idea, you go into that space and then the big creative ideas start flowing in that space. For some reason, beta blockers keep me from being able to access that space. It's just like I hit up against a wall, and I don't like that. And it's very, very frustrating. And that's very challenging for me. And I think it's affecting how I look at and construct the podcast in a lot of ways and other creative things. So I'm working on it. It's creative. It's challenging, but it's a pain in the ass. So work with me. I'll do what I can to make it better. Okay. All right. I have a story for you. This is kind of an interesting story. Laurie Anderson. Do you know who Laurie Anderson is? I love Laurie Anderson. She's a performance artist. Was she married to Lou Reed? I think she was. If she wasn't married to him, she dated Lou Reed. But that's not her claim to fame. Her claim to fame is her own art. She's amazing. Look up some of her performance art. I could listen to her voice all day. When Laurie Anderson was a graduate student at Columbia University, she was assigned to teach an introductory course on Egyptian art. Here's the thing. Laurie Anderson had no knowledge of Egyptian art. I don't know why they would put her in charge of that. Maybe this is what you do when you're a graduate student. They just say you do that. So what did she do? Did she go to the library? No. Did she look up stuff on AI? No, there was no such thing as AI. What did she do? Well, she chose to improvise the content entirely. That's right. She improvised the entire subject. She created her own interpretations, histories, and explanations from her own imagination rather than research. She asked, what if Egyptian art was like this? And she just went with it. So she delivered the lectures weekly, and the students responded positively. They said they found the course engaging, and they didn't realize the material was fabricated. I don't know, there's a lawsuit in there, don't you think? Years later, Laurie Anderson openly acknowledged that she had made up the entire class, and the story has since become a well-known example of her unconventional, improvisational, creative approach. And I'm not advocating that. I'm not advocating lying to people, although a certain amount of creativity is just lying. It's what we do. We make stuff up. We make other worlds. So is it wrong? I kind of think so. If people pay to know the truth and you give them false information, I think that's wrong. I'm sorry. But it's funny, and I admired the attempt. I really do. I don't know that I would do that. Although I think I've dreamed of myself in that kind of situation. I've dreamed that I've been on stage doing a play and I forgot the text. I couldn't remember my lines. I couldn't remember anything. And so I just started making stuff up. And maybe that's what Laurie was doing. Sometimes you just got to make stuff up. All right, people, I'm going to call it a time. We're just going to say, let's stop. Let's make that up right now, and I'll see you next week. And what if I came back and everybody who listened sent me $1 million? Holy crap.